Zimbabwe's deepening a cash crisis. And we're once again joined by Farai Mwakutuya in Harare. Farai, welcome back to the show. Now, as we were discussing before, what has been the impact on businesses so far?
Well, Uche, as I was saying, the impact has been adverse. Businesses that need to import, whether it's raw materials or finished products, are finding it difficult to access foreign currency through the official channels. So they end up being forced to dip into the parallel market, buying US dollars at a premium. When they do that, they pass on that cost to their final consumer. That makes their prices uncompetitive, and it's had an impact on their sales and turnovers. If they don't go the parallel market route and go through the official channels, because of the backlog of international payments that have to be made, it may take them months to be able to pay their supplies and therefore get their goods. So they're really caught in a catch-22 situation. But beyond that side of things, there's also the productivity side. Because of these long queues that we see every day at the banks, it means that labor that's meant to be productive, that's meant to be hard at work, is spending countless hours in bank queues trying to get cash. And obviously that impact is being felt in terms of production. Uche.
Well, Farai, what's your take on how these bond notes are working right now in the economy? We know the government released about $100 million worth of these bond notes, but we do hear that traders and taxi drivers are refusing to accept the currency. So give us an update on the progress of these bond notes.
Well, Uche, the reluctance by some people to accept the bond notes goes back to this point that I've just made. If I accept bond notes, what am I going to do with them? If I need to import, that means I have to go to the black market. I have to find a way to access US dollars again. So if I can avoid taking on board these bond notes and get US dollars directly, then I'll do that. And that's why we're seeing this phenomenon where people are reluctant to accept bond notes, or have come up with, a multi-tier pricing system where there's a different price for US dollar payments, a different price for bond notes, a different price for swipe transactions. But certainly the central bank is trying to clamp down on that. We understand that they've reached an agreement with retailers to stamp it out, and so there aren't any of these differentials in terms of prices. But the challenge also here is the availability of those bond notes. Where they are available, they can be used now, but sometimes when you go to the bank, you can't get them. And what we're seeing more and more of these past few weeks is people being paid in bond coins. And so people, if they're withdrawing $200, will get $200 in 25-cent and 50-cent coins. So you can imagine, what a bulky sort of withdrawal that is for a customer.
Now, Farai, you mentioned some requirements that are being put forward by the central bank governor for retailers. Are these solutions long-term? Are they going to solve Zimbabwe's currently cash crisis in the long term?
Well, long-term, the ultimate solution, and the finance minister has record saying this, it's about production. It's about, producing more, exporting more, generating more foreign direct investment. What we're seeing now with the retailers is a stopgap measure. The central bank realizes that, the retail sector is cash rich, and some of that money isn't finding its way back into the formal channels, and so they want to harness that money, put it back into the banking system, so all these people who go in queue for money are able to get something when they do queue at those banks. Retailers are caught between a rock and a hard place, because on one hand they must comply or else risk losing their licenses. On the other hand, if they do comply, are they guaranteed that they'll be able to get foreign currency as and when they need it in order to import, the products that they need to sell and put on their shelves? What we're likely to see, and we've already started to see, is, organizations that represent retailers lobbying the financial authorities to say, look, we are willing to play ball on this one hand. We'll deposit our takings, but can you also give us priority and special dispensation when it comes to being able to access a foreign currency, just like, petrol suppliers and electricity suppliers do. So that's what we're likely to see here happening. But again, it's not a long-term solution. It's a stopgap solution to provide some relief now, but ultimately we need to be more productive. We need to export more.
All right. Well, many thanks, Farai, for that insight. We'll certainly be watching. Farai Mwakutuya joining us there in Harare.